We're going to start the candle project by making the candle. From the tote in the candle kit, find a spool of wick. The wick is made of cotton and will be used to make the candle. Pull a piece of wick across the diameter of the spool and cut the end. You'll find a split stopper. Open the stopper and place the wick in the center of it. Pull the wick so it just is flush with the surface. Now you'll place the split washer or the stopper in the candle mold. Press firmly. The wick should be coming up the other side. With the paper clip found in the supply tote, clip the paper clip to the top of the wick. Oops. Make sure it stays on the surface. You can label your candle with a bit of masking tape. Then we're going to take it over to the oven where we'll have the wax pot. If the wax is melted, you can go ahead, take a ladle and fill the wax candle mold. We're now going to be die cutting both the copper and the aluminum for the base of the candle. Down in the candle cupboard, you want to find the large blue die cutter. Take it to the hydraulic press. On the back of the die cutter, you're going to notice a metal ridge. That is going to be locked onto the back of the I-beam at the top of the hydraulic press. While you hold that with one hand, you're going to turn the wing nut with the other until it locks in place securely. Turn the jack screw counterclockwise until it raises up to the bottom of the die cutter. Locate the white press bar, place it in the jack handle, and close the hydraulic valve for the press. We're ready to start. Find your piece of copper, place it in the die cutter. Make sure you press it all the way in to the left and all the way to the back. There'll be two pins. Make sure they're placed against the two pins so that it cuts a complete circle out of your copper blank. Lower the safety shield and pump up the handle. Make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. You'll continue to apply pressure to the die cutter until you hear a popping sound. That's the die cutter cutting through. And that's my cat, Cairo. Once the cut is done, release the pressure from the valve and take out the copper blank and the scrap material from the die press. Very good. You're going to do the same with the aluminum. The aluminum isn't quite as hard to cut. You won't need to apply as much pressure, but again, push the aluminum all the way in and back on the die cutter. Lower the safety shield. Make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. Close the valve and pump the white handle until you cut through the aluminum. When done, release the pressure and take out the aluminum circle and the scrap. Hydroforming. We'll be hydroforming the aluminum circle using this forming process. Turn the jack screw counterclockwise, raising it up about an inch. Set the hydroformer on top of the jack screw and remove the match plate. Place your aluminum blank on top of the hydroformer up against the 2 pins in the back. Put the top of the form on top of the hydroformer and close the valve for the hydraulic press. Using the white press bar, raise the hydroformer up until it makes contact with the I-beam at the top of the hydraulic press. You want to apply firm pressure until you feel that the hydroformer is no longer moving. Generally 1 or 2 pumps should do it. Open the valve. That'll allow the jack screw to come back down. Remove the top form, and you notice the aluminum has taken an interesting shape. This is a forming process. Metal spinning. Before we metal spin, we need to punch a hole through our copper and aluminum. There'll be marks in the center of both of the discs. Take a hand-operated hole punch, punch a hole through it, and then pull hard, and that'll release the metal. We're now going to form the aluminum by using a very interesting technique called metal spinning. We put the aluminum on a metal spinning lathe. Put the aluminum on the wooden spindle. We put a follow block behind it, and then we turn the black handle on the tailstock until that point applies pressure to the follow block, holding the aluminum on the wooden form. We close the safety shield. We find our metal spinning stick. We turn on the metal spinning lathe, and as the aluminum is spinning, we apply pressure with the spinning stick, and it causes the aluminum to fold and bend its way over the wooden form. This is called metal spinning. It's how we make bowls and band instruments, things that are rounded. Very kind of interesting. Once we're done, we turn the handle on the tailstock and we pull the pin out of the follow block, which releases the aluminum, and it has taken a new shape. This will go to the sandblasting cabinet next. We're now going to form the shape of the copper with a process called explosion forming. You'll find a .22 caliber power load. Remember, there's only powder in here, no projectile. Your copper blank, plastic mallet. Find the explosion forming tooling, open both sides, turn the handle counterclockwise, and remove the top form. Take your .22 caliber power load and drop it into that little recess. Your copper blank goes in the explosion former on top of that bottom form. We're now going to slide the top form over that. Make sure the edges are flush, and turn the handle down until it's snug. Close both sides of the explosion former and set the latch. With the plastic mallet, strike the firing pin. Bang. You'll hear a small muted popping sound, and you'll probably smell the burnt sulfur from the combustion process. Turn the handle counterclockwise, releasing the top form, and attached to it you'll notice the copper has taken an interesting shape. This is a really fast way to shape metal. It's used for making large water tower sections. Now the power load is probably not going to want to come out by itself, so you have to take that pin on a chain and just drive that piece out, and you can throw that spent cartridge in the garbage. Good job. We're going to sandblast both the copper and the aluminum. It's a separating process. It's kind of like sanding. We place both the copper and the aluminum inside the sandblaster. We have a clear viewing window. You want to place the copper and the aluminum with the curled side facing up so you can pick it up with the glove. If you lay it face down, it won't fit. To turn the cabinet on, you turn the air valve, and it will send a stream of air and sand down over the top of the copper and the aluminum, kind of sanding or pitting the surface. It'll go from very shiny, kind of a dull finish. This is a really efficient way to sand metal. It's also referred to as glass bead blasting, but we call it sandblasting. There will be a light inside the cabinet to help you see. When you're done, open the cabinet, remove your part. You'll notice it does have kind of a dull appearance. Make sure you've removed all of the shiny surface. We're now going to go over to the oven where we have our enameling station. At the enameling station, you're going to place the copper on top of an enameling stand. You'll find a bottle of liquid. It's just kind of a mild soap solution. We're going to use it to clean the top of the copper so it will accept the enamel powder. You want to wipe the surface with this soap solution. And holding it by the edge, we want to place it on the enameling stand. Then grab some different colors. Maybe start with a base color. It's kind of a mixture of all the colors. Put a nice coat on the copper. On top of that, we can add some accent colors. Yellow, white, black, red. There are different colors you can choose from. Be creative. Try a little of each if you'd like. Hold the accent colors a little bit higher up so you don't place quite as much on. Again, it's just a little bit of accent. It doesn't need to be totally covered. Try some different combinations. Alright, we're going to place it in the oven now at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. Take the little forklift, slide it underneath the copper, open the oven, and place the enameled copper right inside the oven. You can leave that little forklift with it and come back in about 10 minutes. It should be nice and shiny when it's done. We're going to connect the two halves of the candle base with a process called riveting. Riveting is an assembly process. Riveting uses a small fastener called a pop rivet. The pop rivet is placed in the rivet gun. Now it's not a gun per se, it's just a device that misshapes the rivet head. We place the aluminum and then the copper over the head of the rivet. Then what we do is we squeeze the two handles together. As we squeeze the handles together, the head of the rivet will misshape. Kind of gets all bent over, expanding, and the pop sound is why they call it a pop rivet. Both halves are fastened together by this mechanical fastener that travels with the project. Riveting.